All right, boys and girls, we're back and we're about to read the story. And once again, I do not have the book in my home, so I'm using my teacher's book. That's why I like you to listen to it on YouTube first, so you can kind of really see the story and hear the story. And then we can just go over the question when I read it, because I'm not sure if it's as clear. All right, so the name of our story is called Pie in the Sky and is written by Lewis Ehlert. And we're looking at the text and graphic features meaning the pictures, and how they work together, how they help us understand the story. All right. So right here in the front cover, and it's beautifully illustrated. We see birds, and it looks like a pie because it's a circle, and the little things inside could be cherries, or you could even think maybe raspberries or strawberries. So we would have to read the story to find out more on what kind of pie they are discussing. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. This tree was here when we moved in. And we see a tree like looking thing, kind of strange, right? Dad says it's a pie tree. I see a blue jay, feathers with a black stripes and white tips, and a green caterpillar with a yellow band and an orange false eye, but no pie. So he's describing all the things that he sees in the picture. Uh, the blue caterpillar, green worm, the dragonfly. So it helps us to understand the story better. Because as a matter of fact, this page is so dark, I might have missed all these different insects that were in the story. But because he's describing it, and the smaller words is how he's describing it, that's how I know that these things are in the story. I've never seen pies growing on trees. Wouldn't that be something? I see green grass, red ladybugs, red brown bark, and blue green dragonfly, but no pie. So he sees all these other things, but he says he doesn't see any pie. By the way, I know you know from the other person reading the story that it's a kid reading the story, but he's talking with who else? It's him and his dad are in the story. So those are kind of like the characters in the story, because it's those two people that are talking to each other. All right, here we go. Dad showed me buds on our tree today. He says that's a good sign, but we won't know till summer if we'll get pie. So he's talking about these leaves, which are a yellow leaf. And this small writing on the side says, I see yellow leaves with green spots, brown chrysalis, and a gray snow sky, but no pie. And so we know that the season is probably fall, right? Because the leaves are green, not quite snow yet, right? But everything is starting to turn color. So we can draw that conclusion. And again, the picture helps us to understand what season it is. They don't tell us. So without the graphic features, we really wouldn't know what season it is. Winter's finally over. Sweet spring is here at last. Buds we saw last fall are bursting into bloom. And the small writing, I see green leaves, white blossoms, yellow pollen dust, blue eggs in a brown nest, yellow honeybees, and blue stripes on a yellow butterfly, but no pie. And there we see all those things that they described. And this is a text and graphic feature as well. How this text is written a lot smaller than this text. So this text kind of tells a story, And then the smaller text gives us more detail. It explains the picture in the story. So it helps us understand better. That's a text feature, a different way the author is using the text. But now a damp wind is blowing, and all the flower petals are falling down like rain. And here's our explanation, and it says, I see white petals, dark gray tails, brown branches, and a gray rain sky, but no pie. So what can we conclude from that description? A damp wind blowing. They see a gray rain sky. Yeah, probably a storm is coming. And that's why it's blowing the blossoms out of the tree. Again, it helps us to understand better when we see the pictures, the graphic features that the author provided for us. You know what? I think something's finally growing on that tree of ours. And the small print says, I see orange and lime green balls, yellow moon and stars, a pale green moth, and a dark blue sky, but no pie. So it describes how we're seeing these little green balls on the tree. And what could that be? The birds sure sound excited. I wonder what's going on. I see a robin's rusty red breast and white speckled throat, a gray catbird with a black crown and tail, and purple violet clouds in the pink and orange sky, but no pie. So the birds are like, oh, the berries are coming. They taste so good. Can't wait to eat it. All right. So far we know that the boy and the father moved to a new house because he's talked about when we moved in. And there was a special tree out front of their house. And the father told him it was a pie tree. And the boy was like curious because he said he's never seen pies grow on trees. And so now he's looking at all the things that he sees in the tree. But what doesn't he see? He doesn't see any pies in the tree. All right, so that's summarizing. Well, you read all these pages, and I just summarized. I just kind of brought together everything that we have read thus far. So the birds we know are excited because of the berries in the tree. And a golden sun shines in the sky. Is the sun yellow or red? Because it says it's golden, and we know that it's yellow. Uh-oh, now I see. Now we would possibly say, well, what does he see? But I believe the small writing here helps us to know. I see brown cherry pits, red wing tips on cedar wax wings, and white rings around robin's black eyes, but no pies. So he's kind of seeing all the birds, and they seem to be enjoying the berries. He's like, oh, well, let's see. It's a cherry feast. So he sees the birds and they're eating the cherries. And the small print says, I see orange-breasted orioles, black spots and tips on butterfly wings, red ripe cherries, and a bright blue sky, but no pie. All right, so he sees all these things, but there's still no pie. And this says, but hey, raccoon, save some for us. So that raccoon is enjoying the berries too. And it says in the small print, I see a raccoon's black mask, black toes, black nose, one eye, and the lime green glow of fireflies, but no pie. And there's our firefly there, and the raccoon. So again, it's giving us a description of what's in the picture. At last, Dad says it's time for us to pick cherries. And the small print says, I see gray wings, black and orange tail, a yellow beak, a silver gray pail, and one blue fly. Still no pie. We're going to make a pie. All right, so who's picking the cherries? That's right, the dad and the son. They're about to pick those cherries. First, we wash the cherries. We squeeze out all the pits. And you might have learned in your story yesterday that a pit is actually the seed that's inside the cherry, and save the juice. So here's a very small print there. And that print says 4 cups sour red cherries. So within this basket is 4 cups of sour red cherries. So now again, it's describing what is there, but it's telling us part of the ingredients for the pie. And the next page says, then we put the cherries in the bowl. We add the juice, flour, sugar, and cinnamon and stir it with a spoon. Now we mix the pie crust dough. And so the spoons here have a small print, but they have a purpose. They have a purpose. They're giving us the ingredients and they're telling us how much of the ingredients. So we have a half cup of juice. We have 5 tablespoons of flour. We have 1.5 cups of sugar and 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. So again, the small graphic feature of the spoons with the text writing on it gives us more information for the story. And this one says, we roll out the crust and press one in the pan. Then we pour the filling in. We add the top crust, put the pie in the oven, and wait for it to bake. Now Dad cuts the pie. He puts a piece on each plate. And even on this glove, there's a text writing. It's a graphic feature, the mitt, the oven mitt. And on there, it tells us how to cook the pie. By the way, up here, we also have a graphic feature of telling us the size of the pie pan, which is 9-inch pie pan. So here's what it tells us to do. Press around the crust edge with a fork to seal. Cut design into a crust so steam can escape while baking. Preheat oven to 450, bake 10 minutes, reduce heat, bring to 350, bake 35 to 45 minutes until brown. So that's what all that says on that glove there. Wow, that was the best pie I've ever eaten. I wonder if the birds would like it. And so they do. So why do we think the author wrote the story? Did he write the story to give us information, or did he write it to entertain us? Yeah, I think he wrote it to entertain us, although it does give us information. It does give us a lot of information. It tells us how to bake a pie and what ingredients we would need. But I think the main purpose is just to entertain us. The pictures are beautiful, and they certainly entertain us in looking at the pictures. And at the end of the story, we know that the birds are eating the pie. Alrighty, so in your Journeys book, you do have to fill in a text and graphic feature. And this is what I have in my book. It's like it has large and small text on the pages. And what's the purpose of that? It tells us that the large text tells the story. The small text describes what's on the page. Text on the illustrations of the measuring spoons, it tells us how much of each ingredients are needed, okay? And so that's its purpose, to tell us how much. And then the text on the illustration tells us how to cook the pie. So we had a few text and graphic features. Again, the small words versus the large words. Large words tell the story. Small words describe what's on the page. Then we had measuring spoons and a pot holder. And they gave us, the measuring spoons told us the ingredients, while the pot holder told us how to cook a pie. So they both had a purpose, okay? So you need to fill that on your page. Let's see if I can find the page you'll be working on today. Well, let me see. You'll be working on page 64, and that's filling out your letters. And then you'll also be working on page 65, where it gives you text and graphic feature, and you give a purpose. I just named 3. Which one do they give you? A part of the recipe on the pot holder, purpose, to tell us how to cook the pie. We also had the measuring spoons. The purpose was to tell us what ingredients go into the pie. And then the last one, the small print and the large print. And the large print told the story while the small print gave us more detail. Okay, so those are some of our text and graphic features for our story, The Pie and Sky. And you are going to go do page 64 and 65 in your Journeys book. And then you also have some questions to answer for the story. And then you'll be coming back to the table for writing. All right, boys and girls, enjoy. Go take a break with Miss LaBerth, by the way.